Good to see you.
Hey, Rob. If I can't sleep.
Oh, I have to sleep. Hey, Rob.
Wow, nice.
I like it cool at night, you know. Guess we're good to go.
I've been riding a bunch, yeah.
Okay, we're gonna get going.
I won't be riding in that.
You guys all set?
Yep.
Okay, good evening. Welcome to the June 26th, right? Today's
Yep.
26th,
Got it.
June 26th zoning board of adjustment meeting. To my left is Carter Falk, who's the deputy planning manager for the city of Nashua. Across the table, we have Mr. Robert Shaw, Mr. Steve Lionel, and Mr. Jack Currier, who's the vice chair. And my name is J.P. Boucher. I serve as your chair tonight. We have a couple of members off. There may be one that may come in, one or two, but we'll deal with that when that happens. But, so this is your board for tonight. This meeting is recorded by a written transcript. It's also audio and video recorded. Please direct all testimony into the microphone at the podium, and only one person is allowed to speak at one time. If you don't have a copy of tonight's agenda, it's on the back table back there, in the rear of the auditorium. Tonight we'll be hearing requests for deviations from the Nashua zoning code in the form of applications for special exceptions and variances. And I'll go over what those are. A special exception is a request that seeks permission to do something that the zoning ordinance permits only under special circumstances. The 5 criteria required for this board to grant a request for a special exception are: 1, the requested use must be listed in the table of use regulations as a special exception. 2, the requested use will not create undue traffic congestion or unduly impair pedestrian safety. 3, the requested use will not overload any public water, drainage, or sewer system, or any other municipal system such that other areas of the city will be subjected to hazards affecting health, safety, or general welfare. 4, any special regulation for the use set forth in other sections of zoning ordinance are fulfilled. And 5, the requested use will not impair the integrity or character of the district of adjoining zones, nor be detrimental to the health, morals, or welfare of the residents of Nashua. A variance is a request that seeks permission to do something that the ordinance does not permit. The 5 criteria that need to be established for the approval of a variance are: 1, the variance will not be contrary to public interest. 2, the spirit of the ordinance is observed. 3, substantial justice is done. 4, the values of surrounding parcels are not diminished. And 5, literal enforcement of the provisions of the ordinance would result in unnecessary hardship. Per the City of Nashua bylaws, a minimum of 3 or more affirmative votes are required to approve any application. Also, this board will hear any scheduled cases as long as a quorum of 3 voting board members are present at this meeting. We have 4 tonight. Any citizen has a right to contest the decision that this board makes. Should we make a decision that you believe is an error, you have the right to request a rehearing. A written rehearing request must be received through Mr. Carter Falk, the city, and the City of Nashua Planning Department within 30 days from the day after a decision was made. Should this board not grant a rehearing request, you can file an appeal directly to the New Hampshire Superior Court. And you can contact Mr. Falk if you need more information on that. Per our approved zoning board of adjustment bylaws, the review and decision of each application occurs in 2 parts. The first part is what we call the public hearing. This is where the applicant and citizens address this board and speak to the merits of this case. The order of testimony is as follows. The applicant will have 15 minutes to present their case. Then after that, those in favor will have a limit of 5 minutes each to testify. And after that, those in oppositions or with questions will have a limit of 5 minutes each to testify. Then the applicant then has 5 minutes to speak in rebuttal. And then finally, a representative and only one person of those in opposition or with questions will have 5 minutes to speak in rebuttal. Please ask that you direct all testimony to this board and not to the audience. If you have any questions about any application, they're be directed to the board, and we'll get them answered for you. Second part of tonight's meeting is called a public meeting. This is where the board debates the merits of the case amongst ourselves. Please note that during the public meeting, There is no testimony allowed from the audience. You can observe, but that is a time where we discuss the case amongst ourselves and render a decision. Please silence your cell phones. If you need to have a conversation, we just ask you to step out in the hallway. This room has great acoustics, so we can hear everything that goes on in the room. Mr. Falk, are there any changes to tonight's agenda?
No, there are not.
Okay. Does anybody in the audience have any questions before we get started? Okay, seeing none. I'd like to open the public, the public hearing for case number 1, which is Brian and Renee Coxis. I apologize if I pronounced that incorrectly. 12 Echo Avenue. Brian J. and Renee Koskis, owners of 12 Echo Avenue, Sheet C, Lot 930, requesting variance from Land Use Code Section 190-16, Table 16-3, to encroach up to 7 feet 9 inches into the 10-foot required left yard setback to construct an attached 22 by 28 garage with a 4-foot wide mudroom, R9 Zone Ward 5. It's in the R9 Zone District, in Ward 5 again. And this was tabled from the May 8th, 2018 meeting. Good evening. State your name.
Evening,
and-
Brian Kosis, 12 Echo Ave, representing my variance for garage. We've shortened the garage a little bit and moved it forward about 2 feet each direction to give us a little less approachment on that back corner lot. So now we're going to be, I have a note here. So in the back corner, 4.6 inches away from property line, given an approachment about 5'6" into that 10-foot setback. And then the front, we've moved it also as well. The front is going to be 7.8 away from property line, approaching 2'4". We addressed the water issue that we were talking about last time with any rain runoff on the water with my builder, who is here tonight. Like I was saying before, piping it in along the foundation of the wall, making it meet the footing drain that I have existing that'll pump it out to the back of the lowest point of the backyard, about 150 feet away from any dwelling, really. Just goes back into a brook back there.
Anything else?
That's about it.
Okay. Are there any questions?
I guess the question I have, so the garage has been skinny down a bit, and is that proposed 2 doors that are right next to each other, or is that one wide door, or what's here in the front?
In the front is going to be one large front door. We're going to try to make a 16-foot front door, about 7 foot high. So, my large pickup truck, as I was saying before, I do have a 2500 that I can, utilize it and park in the garage.
Okay, and I've forgotten, so this is like the front view, if you can see that from where you are.
Yes, that is going to be the front view there.
Was that the same gable, roof line that was the proposed last time?
Yes, it is
Okay.
going to be the same roof line, just shortened 2 feet narrower.
Narrower.
So last time we were proposing for a 24-foot wide garage. Now, we've narrowed that down to 22-foot garage with the breezeway in between.
Okay, that's, I'm all set with my questions.
Any other questions? I'd like to hear a little bit more, just clarify on how, and maybe your builder can answer the more details on the remediation of the water, which was an issue last time.
Yep.
Is there any more specifics than what you just told us?
Specifics on the water drainage. Yeah, I can have.
We just,
Rick?
and just ask you, give us your name, please, and your address.
Rick Martin, Sunset Builders, 230 Beard Road, New Boston.
Right.
So as far as the issues with the water, what our plan is to do is by moving the building over 2 feet, which gave us considerably more room on that side of the property, we're gonna run a gutter down the whole side of the garage, which will fall down a downspout, which will be piped directly into a 4-inch drainage pipe that is right now been installed last year. I believe it was last year they installed it, and piped out to the back side of the property. So all the water that should be coming off, that will be coming off the roof, should, you know, go in the gutter and follow the 4-inch pipe out back. And I believe he, also as a precaution, we were planning on adding a pipe along the foundation on the ground, buried inside of a crushed stone barrier with landscape fabric, so that won't clog from debris and stuff, which will also be tied into that pipe out back. So it'll virtually be no water that should, you know, outside of what's falling from the sky on the property, on that area.
Okay, all right, thank you. Any questions?
Well, just to clarify, I think there's a grate in front, or the driveway now picking up water, or there's no grate now?
No, there's no grate now.
Okay. So the water from the driveway right now is just sheeting off on the side?
Correct,
And that would be the same after construction?
correct.
Okay, all right.
Once again, where we'll be adding the swale, not a swale, but the drainage pipe, you know, underground alongside the building, you know, I feel that a lot of that is, you know, falling or running off the driveway will actually just kind of go over to the swale where we're gonna be putting the pipe underground with the stone, and that should carry it away.
So there'll be,
It'll actually be better than it was.
so you're proposing not only the pipe, but a swale that you're saying will catch the
Well,
driveway runoff?
I don't know if the swale's a proper word to say, just pretty much a drainage, like a drainage ditch, you know, with drainage piping inside of it, you know, inside the stone to help carry the water away,
Okay,
which will be piped off into that other 4-inch pipe that's going behind the, connected into the gutter.
all right, thank you.
And where does this pipe end up?
It goes out to the back side of the property.
Just, what's there, I mean, in terms of slope, drainage, I mean, what's gonna happen to the?
Well, the slope, I would say, is probably, I don't know, he's about 100 feet, goes, you know, roughly back about 100 feet there, and it probably slopes down somewhere in the vicinity of about 3.5 feet, so there's plenty of pitch for all that water to run off out back there, and he has a flat area out back that will be able to handle whatever.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you very much. Is there any other questions for the applicant?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
You can have a seat. Is there anybody else in the audience that would like to speak in favor of this application?
Mr. Chairman, there were 3 letters, I believe, in your package that were submitted from,
No,
or should have been maybe?
Oh, yes, right in the back, yep. Yeah,
Email-
Emails. There were emails, yes.
oh.
It's from 9 and 14, and I think
7.
Echo.
Okay. So let me, where we're in the phase of asking who's in favor, let me read these into the record real quickly. So the first email is from Joyce Dubois. Dear Mrs. Portier, we are David and Joyce Dubois of 7 Echo Avenue in Nashua regarding the variance request for Brian and Renee Kosis to construct an attached garage breezeway on their property at 12 Echo Ave. We have no problem with this. Prior to the Kosis moving into the neighborhood, the 12 Echo property was an eyesore for many years. Since moving into the property, the Kosis have greatly improved both the house and surrounding green spaces. It is our belief that the addition of the garage breezeway to the Kosis home will not only increase the value of their home, but will be an asset for the entire neighborhood's property values. Sincerely hope that this input helps, et cetera. Second one is from Barbara Harding. of 9 Echo Ave. I'm writing this letter in regards to Brian and Renee Kosas, who reside at 12 Echo Ave. My home is directly across the street from them. I'm at 9 Echo Ave. Our family fully supports them in their interest in building a garage. Since they have moved in, there have been great improvements to the home and yard, and I'm certain that anything they choose will only increase the value and beauty to our neighborhood. And then the last one is from Michael Tormos. My name is Michael Tormos, and my wife's name is Malia. My wife and I reside at 14 Echo Ave. We are neighbors of Renee and Brian Kosas, who reside at 12 Echo Ave. We recently received a zoning letter from the city regarding Renee and Brian seeking to build an addition garage to their home. This letter is to notify the city of Nashua that my wife and I have no objection to Renee and Brian's request to build this addition to their home. So those are the three in favor. Anybody else would like to speak in favor of this application? Seeing none. Anybody with questions or concerns about this application? Come on up.
How you doing? My name's John Allard. I'm representing my son. I sold my house to my son next door. I'm still a resident there at 10 Echo Ave, where this is all situated at, to let you know. I do have some concerns about the line from my foundation to the property line is only 21 feet. So if you take in I don't know if he adjusted the numbers there, but still, with the numbers that he had prior, I was told, I'm hearsay, that he moved it 5 feet instead of 7, 9, or whatever. That would only leave 26 feet from my foundation to the structure of this garage that is too close to my property line. I would believe that would bring down the value of my house. For nobody would want to buy a house that is a garage that only has less property, that looking out at the window, and you can see a wall structure there. It's 21 feet is not very much. And with the drainage problem, I believe, I'm not sure what all this construction is going to be doing with the drainage problem or whatever like that, but the drainage is going into the brook, which is a city brook in the back. It is a stream that goes into like a canal. It is draining into somebody else's property, what he has right now. If they're going to add more water to it, that brings a stream up and it floods out my backyard. It's happened many, many times. I had this concern with the previous owner of the house, and I fixed it with a rock because it was draining from this driveway down into the yard, making a big gully going all the way down in the back into the stream. It was a free flow of water. I stuck a rock there where I don't know, it just worked. I stuck a big boulder there so it would stop the land from landscaping down into the yard with the mud and all the rocks. And that cured it for a little while. Then it happened a little bit more again because we got more snow or whatever like that. And he had his driveway a little bit widened and tilted it a little bit, and it stopped it. So right now, it's not leaking out of the driveway right now, but if you go and disturb it, I believe it will start happening again. This is just my belief. And I believe in the 10-foot variance rule or law, that if you wanted to go beyond, this is your job. If you go, if you want to use your 10 feet that's there, I would believe that would be only for landscaping. It wouldn't be for a building code. This is a structure that is going to be permanent. It's not something that's going to be movable. And I believe it's going to cause problems in the neighborhood. And I lived there 28 years. I was told there were 4 people multiple people, I'll just put it as multiple people that tried for this, a garage in their yard, and they were turned down because the variance was too close to their property line when they wanted to build. So they were refused. But these people are no longer here. I don't know where they moved to. But it was turned down for the same reason. Well, not the same reason, for the same thing of building a garage. So I would say, I would think if other people got turned down because it was too close to their adjoining property line, I would feel like I never had to deal with this, but now it's come to my turn after 28 years that I believe that's too close to my property line. And there's actually, right now, if you go with the 10-foot variance lines that's going on, there is no house on a street that has that 10-foot variance line. I did some measurements from the property line, and from where they're talking about going to 5.7, or whatever they're doing, is still too close to my property line. And it's, I believe that it's just gonna bring the value down on my house. If that garage ever had any issues, like fire or anything like that, that's a safety issue for me. So I have family that lives there, I have grandchildren that live there, and I believe that's gonna be a safety issue. If the house is too close to my house, if they have a problem, at least we have a way to get out, but we're not gonna have that much of a, 21 feet, yes, you can get out, but it is a safety issue. If the variance law was made for, somebody made it, and it was for the safety of the individuals that live side by side. And I would feel that would be a safety issue. I lost my other paper, but I believe it's only a building code that is in effect, that you cannot go beyond a permanent structure. This is from what I've been understanding, the variance lines. But you could do it for landscaping or some other.
I'd ask you to wrap it up. I'm sorry you're
Okay.
out of town. But
If there's any questions, I can go back.
is there any questions for this gentleman?
Well, I guess when you were talking about, sounds like, were you saying previous owners asked for previous side yard setback encroachments? I don't think there's been any requests of this property in the history of it at all.
Not for this property. There may be others in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
I'm
Yes,
not
others
aware
in the
of, but
neighborhood
doesn't
have
really matter.
tried to get, out of my 28 years of there, we're trying to get a garage built in a yard, and they were close to their boundary lines. There was 2 houses that were able to build garages because they lived on a cul-de-sac, and they didn't have to apply for that. They had plenty of space, plus they had the variance. And those are the only 2 garages that were able to be built on the street.
Okay,
And-
thank you.
Anybody else? Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Anybody else with questions or concerns with this application? Sir, would you like to come back up, and I would be talking to the applicant in rebuttal, if you'd like. You have 5 minutes. Go ahead.
Brian Kosas from 12 Echo Ave. With the water thing, when I moved in a couple years ago, we had water in the basement. He said, she said. Heard from other people in the neighborhood, never had a problem with water in the basements. I've never heard of anything, never heard of this river overflowing. With that, I piped in the backyard, got the water away from the house. Water lines have receded. I've even noticed 2 houses down that a sub pump is working less in his home. He's even admitted that it has since I've piped the water away. With the home value, I believe I have a picture of, if you don't mind me sending it around real quick. That was the,
Just speak in the microphone, please.
that there was a picture of the existing house, of how it looked like. If you slide to the left, you can see kind of what the house looks like today. It's been 100% remodeled inside and out. Everything except the foundation has been remodeled on the property. The garage is absolutely going to be matching. Same siding, same colors, same trims. So, you know, with that, I mean, it's only going to bring up the value, I believe, in the homes. And that's about all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sunset
hold on.
Builders.
I can only take rebuttal from the applicant. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Sorry, it's our rules. Sir, you have a chance to say rebuttal on what they just spoke about only, and you have 5 minutes on what they just spoke about.
Okay,
Could you just have your name again, just for the record?
okay, my name's John Allard. I'm representing my son at 10 Echo Ave. 10 Echo Ave. I must agree that the house looks very nice from prior to what it used to look. Yes, my value of the house went down. The value of my house went up a little bit now because of the improvement that was structured by a quick sale that they want to doodle it up and sell it. It was a cheap deal, whatever. But they did make the house look beautiful, I must agree with that. But that does not stop the adding on to, the foundation was there and it's fine with the foundation there, but with the garage there, like I say, with the addition of the garage is too close to the property line. I find it a safety issue, and it's just, the addition would probably look good yellow, you know, attached to his house, but it's not gonna look good sitting close to my house, which is, I believe, is a safety issue, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. With that, I'm going to close the public hearing and open the public meeting. If you'd like to start? Sure, Mr. Correa.
Well, on the positive side of this application, I appreciate the smaller proposed encroachment than last time. You know, you certainly see that with this skinnier garage door versus a full 2-car wide. Another, I think, positive element of the application tonight is, you know, the architectural drawings we have, I think, are well thought out, you know, with the roof lines, the way it looks. If this variance were approved, I have every confidence it's going to be a good-looking addition. On the other hand, you know, when I went and re-looked at this property again, and you know, I do see, I find merit in Mr. Allen's point. You know, the property, his property, and on the left and the right of his property, kind of like wide open yards, and so this encroachment is, you know, really knock down the view. If there were vegetation or some topo changes, it might be kind of minimized, or you wouldn't see it too much. So I'm on the fence with this. I'm just would like to hear my colleagues' opinions on the matter, and that's where I'm at.
Mr. Lionel.
I just note that given the ordinance saying a 10-foot side yard setback, that means a minimum, you know, assuming the setbacks are honored, a minimum of 20 feet between adjacent houses. And there, even with this garage constructed, there will be more than that. So I don't feel there's going to be a safety issue. It does appear that the water drainage has been addressed. From what we've been presented, there should be less water migrating to other properties than before. You know, the whole purpose of this board is to to look at requests to encroach into side yard setbacks. This is something that we do all the time, and sometimes we grant them and sometimes we don't. I think that in this case, the applicant has done a good job of minimizing the effects of the encroachment. Certainly the one before, I felt there was just too little space to the property line, and now there's not unreasonable. It's still small, but at least you can get through it with a wheelbarrow or whatever. So I would be inclined to grant this variance.
And I guess I'm maybe a little bit in between my two colleagues thus far. So I'm struggling a bit, but I also think, and I appreciate this being reduced, but I also give strong consideration to the immediate abutter and the one that's most affected by this kind of encroachment. I think it kind of comes down to, I don't know that there really is another reasonable means feasible to the applicant to put a two-car garage on this property without some encroachment into the side yard setback due to the relatively narrow but deep lot. And, there's a bit of the rotation thing as well, which even if the house was, more straight on, parallel with the side yard property lines, we might only be talking about 2 feet or so of encroachment all the way down. But so you have this kind of rotational thing. So the lot comes down to the placement of the home and even how close it is to the street. So I think, to me, I'm inclined to support this because I don't believe there is a way for the applicant to do the two-car garage. I think and I agree, I think it'll be a very nice addition. I think we have pretty high confidence based on what this applicant's done already, that it'll be very nice, and I have no concerns about the water issues. If anything, I think it appears there's perhaps a kind of above and beyond what would really be necessary, but I appreciate the kind of extra due diligence there. So I'm still kind of want to hear, I guess, your thoughts, Mr. Boucher, and
Sure.
and just see if there's any further discussion, but I'm generally in support.
So, just a few calculations. Of course, again, we're talking about a home that was built kind of skewed to, or not parallel with the property line. So again, we talked a little bit about whether or not a single-car garage, but it would be too deep, and there's challenges with that, but I think we'd still be talking about incursion on the end. And again, now you would be talking about more linear feet of water coming down, et cetera. So what we have is really a 2-foot 3-inch incursion on the front corner of the garage and a 5-foot 6-inch incursion on the back. And Mr. Falk was very kind to do calculations, comes out to about 78 square feet of incursion. But don't forget, this garage is deeper than maybe a normal garage, right? I too believe that the applicant has gone the extra to provide us with very realistic drawings of what he's going to put up, which I know will be, but also has really taken care of, I think, taking care of what he's going to do with the water, and I think that was well planned out, and obviously, with the extra footing drainage that's going to be added, I think I have every belief that there'll be less of an issue than there is now. We get 3 feet of snow, that's a whole other ballgame, but everybody deals with that, right? But I think in a regular, rainstorm or rain, that would take care of that. This area is again, we look at different zonings, right? And we deal with different setbacks, right? Some parts of the city are much less than this. Sometimes they're bigger, 20 feet. But regardless, I think that Mr. Lionel makes a good point. So what we're talking about, if the houses were in parallel, the neighbor's house, we're talking about 30 feet to the front corner, 25 to the rear. So I again hear what the neighbor has to say. In my mind, and again, this is why we're here to look at these cases. I don't, I guess, see enough of a reason why I could deny this and any other reasonable way to achieve getting this garage here. I think a lot of it is safety issues and that were brought up, and I know that a garage has to be built to a certain code. So again, unfortunately, there are things that happen, fires happen, but I think that this structure is, again, not as close to a lot of other structures that we look at and see. So I believe that, from a safety point of view, in my lay opinion, that I feel comfortable with the distance. So I guess in the end, I think the applicant has done a good job of reducing the size of the garage as much as he could. But also, I think being cognizant of the neighbor and cognizant of the issues that are on the property. And again, we're looking at a house of the way it's situated. I don't think he has much of a choice. So I'm generally in support of the application. I did, and again, we hear sometimes different things like if this was a two-story addition, right? We may be talking about, well, we've seen these cases before where it not only blocks the view, but it blocks sunlight, it blocks kind of nature, and it's like this big wall, and this is not kind of what the concern is. The concern is more about safety and what happens to the water, and I think there's a pre-existing condition maybe in this area, but if this applicant looks like won't make that any worse, and maybe, and again, it's opinion by others, but maybe has made it better, by adding some drainage to the back of his property. So I would be in support of the application at this point. Any other discussion? I'll make a motion if you'd like. I'd like to make a motion to approve the area variance for Brian. Excuse me, I'm going to stop for a second and just retract a little bit. I think that, I remember from previous meeting, there was a testimony that there will be no living space above this garage, right? So I will add that in there. Was there anything else that, before we get going, I think that was the only
You'll
thing.
want to note that the wording on this sheet here is from the old application. It doesn't reflect the current application in terms of the encroachment and the size of the garage.
Right, five. We're just gonna state it as 5.5 maximum. Okay, is that amendable?
Yep, and one other thing, when there's clear plans like we have tonight,
Right.
I think it speaks, the note about no living space is very important, but also, referencing the design that's before the board tonight, that makes it crystal clear that this is what the proposal is, and this, if it's approved, is what's being proposed. So as time goes on and somebody goes out to do their inspections of the foundation and framing, if this is approved, it's very clear that, they're sticking to the plan, so to speak, and so I think it's important in a motion like this to state that the design before us tonight.
So I'm gonna put per plan submitted with our application.
Yeah, right.
Okay. All right, and again, when I make the motion, right, I'm going to state it not the way it's written here, but it's gonna be less of an encroachment, a maximum of 5.5 feet, 5 feet 6 inches. Is that amendable?
That's right.
Okay, all right, I'll give that a shot. Okay, so, again, I make a motion to approve the area variance for Brian and Renee Kosas of 12 Echo Avenue. Description is Brian J. and Renee M. Costas, owners of 12 Echo Avenue, Sheet C, Lot 930, requesting variance from Land Use Code, Section 190-16, Table 16-3, to encroach up to 5 feet 6 inches into the 10-foot required left side yard setback to construct an attached 22 by 28-foot garage with a 4-foot wide mudroom, R9 zone, Ward 5, Ward 5. We find that the variance is needed to enable the applicant's proposed use of the property, given the special conditions of the property, and the benefits sought by the applicant cannot be achieved by some other method reasonably feasible for the applicant to pursue other than an area variance. We had discussions based upon the fact of the house being oddly placed and not in parallel with the property line. We've discussed other options that the applicant might have pursued, and again, would all have resulted in an incursion. The applicant has come back to us with a plan that, this plan here that we are going, that the motion's to approve for a 2-foot less width on the garage. And again, the other parts of discussions were concerns about the water drainage, and the applicant has, part of the plan will be to add a footing drain along the left side of the garage to tie into an existing 4-inch drain that he has installed that brings it out to the rear of the property, and the gutters will also be attached to this drain. So again, the applicant has made every provision to not add, but hopefully reduce the amount of water flow to the side of the property. It is within the spirit and intent of the ordinance. It will not adversely affect property values of surrounding parcels. There was some testimony on that, but there is no official documentations or reports that we have in front of us that would say yes or no to that. It is not contrary to public interest, and substantial justice would be served. We are placing some special conditions. Number one would be that there would be no living space above the garage, as discussed in the previous meeting and tonight, and then that the design of the garage will be built per the plan submitted with tonight's application. With that, I make a motion to approve the area variance. Seconded by Mr. Lionel. Any discussion? All in favor? Those not in favor? Okay, that's 3 to 1, 3 to 1. Motion carries. Congratulations, motion carries. I will give another warning again. There's a 30-day window of appeal, so just be aware before you would start any work that there's a 30-day window of appeal. Thank you very much. With that, I'll close the public meeting for case number 1, and we'll move on to case number 2. You need a minute, Mr. Perry?
You can get going. I have just a few words left.
I'd like to open the public hearing for case number 2. You contact Mr. Falk tomorrow if you'd like, okay? Just call the city planning department, okay? Or you can come in. Thank you. Yeah, you too. Again, I'll open the public hearing for case number 2. The owners, Gene and Kathy Tellier, 112 Concord Street. Description is Gene M. and Kathy M. Tellier, owners of 112 Concord Street, sheet 56, lot 8, requesting special exception from Land Use Code, section 190-15, table 15-1, number 3, to allow an attached accessory in-law dwelling unit. It's in the RA zone, Ward 3. Is anybody here to testify? Want to give your name and address, please? And
My name is Gene Tellier. I'm the owner, along with Kathy, of 112 Concord Street. We've been there for 30 years. We really enjoy the property, and we've never had a garage, so we want to add a garage to our property. And at the same time, we're trying to resolve an issue with our mother. She's almost 90 years old, living in Rhode Island. We'd like to bring her up here to be with family and friends. And basically, we're looking at taking and putting in place on the property a 24 by 26 garage. On top of the garage would be an in-law apartment. There would be a 12 by 16 mudroom connecting the apartment garage to the main house. The house setback is on the left-hand side. The setback is 14 feet, so we're within the 10-foot setback. The front of the property is currently 26 feet. When we look, and the right-hand side of the property is like a 40-foot setback. I've got about 40 feet on the right-hand side of the property. That's where our current driveway is. The back of the property, after we put in the mudroom and the garage, we'd have about 50 feet left of property in the back. So we're within it. We've spent a lot of time with the builder. The house was built in 1901. We're very proud of it. We really like it. So it's a clapboard structure and with shingle roof and with prairie-style windows. The addition, including both the mudroom and the garage apartment, would look identical. The one thing we've stressed with our builder is we wanted to make it look like it's been there since 1901, not like it's recently been added. There, from the traffic standpoint, Kathy's mom is almost 90 years old. She doesn't drive. So we currently have 2 vehicles. We expect to have 2 vehicles. There won't be any additional impact on parking. There won't be any additional impact on traffic on the road. It's a 2-story structure that we'll be putting into place. They'll be going up alongside other 2-story structures of equivalent size, about 3,000 square feet. Currently, we have on our property line 60-foot tall hemlocks. Some of those are going to have to come down. One is dying right now. I've got a couple more that are dying. So as part of this update, we're going to be taking down 5 hemlocks. We've covered that with our neighbors on that side, and I don't think we have any problems. Is there anything I can provide you with?
Any questions for the applicant?
I guess the only question while Mr. Tellier is there is the accessory dwelling unit criteria. If you wanted to tick through that, maybe, just to
Sure.
make sure, maybe he's already been through that, maybe not.
Are you aware of the accessory dwelling unit criteria?
Excuse me?
The accessory unit criteria that you have to comply with? Are you familiar with that?
Oh, I got the drawings from my builder.
Okay, so Mr. Shaw is going to give you that.
Okay.
And as you're looking at it. All right. But let me just go quickly over that. Mr. Falk said that he had met with you or talked with you and you meet anything, but let's go over that real quickly.
Okay.
First one is accessory dwelling unit shall be clearly incidental and subordinate in extent to the use of the purpose of the primary structure, doesn't exceed 750 square feet, which you meet.
Okay.
Correct. The accessory dwelling unit shall be the only accessory dwelling unit within or on the same lot as a single-family dwelling unit, which I believe you meet, correct? 3, the accessory dwelling unit shall not alter the single-family character or appearance of the single-family dwelling. Your testimony states that you're going to try to make it look like it was all one house.
Right.
No new entrance or exit, no curb cuts, and then the exterior design of the unit shall be compatible with the single-family dwelling. So I believe you testified to all that.
Right.
The owner of the property must occupy either primary or accessory dwelling unit for at least 5 years. I think that you're making that statement, you're living there and you're
We're
bringing your mother
planning on,
right, for a long time.
pardon to say, but dying there.
The owner of the property shall provide the city of Nashua with a covenant for filing with the Hillsborough County Registry of Deeds, along with the appropriate filing fees. And you see how it's written there. Do you have any, you have any issues with that? So they're asking you to put a covenant in.
Okay, I don't see anything here that's going to be an issue.
No issues there, right? So you're complying that you're gonna comply with this,
Right,
with this part of the regulation?
right.
Okay. 6 is 1 additional off-street parking space is required above the minimum standard. I think you have plenty of parking on your property.
Yes,
An interior door shall be provided between the primary dwelling unit and accessory dwelling unit?
that's true.
Yes.
From the prime, yes.
Yes,
Okay,
I'm
yes.
just, I was looking at your plans and I saw it, but
Okay,
I'm just trying to help you out, but I don't want to speak for you.
okay.
The single-family dwelling unit and accessory dwelling unit shall not be separated in ownership, including condominium ownership.
Absolutely.
Accessory dwelling units should only be associated with single-family detached dwellings and shall not be associated with manufacturing housing as defined in RSA 674:13. So I think you're okay there, right?
Okay,
Okay, so you're testifying, so we have to get that on record that you're testifying that you will comply with these,
Yes.
with this provision. Thank you, Mr. Currier. Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Is there anybody else in the audience that'd like to speak in favor of this application? Seeing none. Anybody with questions or concerns with this application? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing and open the public meeting. Yes, Mr. Currier.
I'm favorable to this application. I think the application was pretty thoroughly detailed, and I think it meets all the criteria, rather uniquely so how this would be situated behind the existing house. I don't think you're even going to see it from the street. I think it's really a win-win. It follows with what the state asks us to do, which is encourage, perhaps I use that word, encourage accessory dwelling units. I know the applicant stated the word apartment a couple times, but this is not an apartment, it's accessory dwelling unit. I think it's just a little bit of learning curve there. What the proposal here is an accessory dwelling unit, not an apartment. But I think it meets everything, and it's interesting. This might be the first accessory dwelling unit added on to an older structure that I've dealt with, and I certainly appreciate in the application how it would be built to match, you know, as opposed to maybe some old farmhouse that you see has grown kind of rather wildly over the generations. This, I'm anticipating, would look like, you know, a good match together. So I'm in favor of it as it is.
Mr. Lano.
This house is in my neighborhood. I walk by it all the time. It's a beautiful house. I've looked at where this addition would be placed. Of course, the addition part, that's not up to us because he meets all of the ordinances regarding that. But adding it as an accessory dwelling unit, I think, is a fine idea, and I'm very much in favor.
Mr. Shaw?
I'm in support.
I'm also in support for all the reasons that were spoken about. Anybody like to make a motion?
I will.
Thank you, Mr. Lano.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion in favor of the owner, Jean and Kathy Tellier, address is 112 Concord Street, sheet 56, lot 8. They're requesting a special exception from Land Use Code, section 19015, table 15-1, item 3, to allow an attached accessory dwelling unit. This is in the RA zone, Ward 3. This is listed in the table of uses. The owner has specified that they will fulfill the special regulations, so that's item number 4. It will not create any traffic congestion. There will be no additional traffic at all generated by this. It certainly will not undo pedestrian safety. It is away from the sidewalk. It will not overload public water, drainage, or sewer, or another municipal system. We have no testimony to indicate otherwise. As I mentioned, the special regulations are fulfilled in terms of the 9 criteria, and will not impair the integrity or be out of character with the neighborhood or detrimental to the health, morals, or welfare of the residents. We have testimony that the design will be absolutely in character with the existing house, and I'll make a motion to approve this exception.
Seconded by Mr. Shaw. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion? That's 4-0. Congratulations, your motion passes. Again, same warning, there's a third-day window of appeal. But with that, congratulations and thank you. I'll close the public meeting for case number 2. Give Mr. Currier a second there. All set, Mr. Currier?
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to open the public hearing for case number 3. It is Douglas and Deanne Fortnam, 18 Cambridge Road. The description as follows: Douglas A. and Deanne L. Fortnam, I apologize for that, owners, 18 Cambridge Road, Sheet C, Lot 469, requesting a variance from Land Use Code, Section 190-192, Section C, to exceed a maximum driveway width, 24 feet permitted, 31 feet proposed, to excavate and resurface existing 31-foot wide driveway. It's in the R9 zone, Ward 9. Welcome. Can I have your name and address, please?
Hello, I'm Doug Fortnam, 18 Cambridge Road, Nashua. My wife and I, Deanne and I, have lived at 18 Cambridge Road for 39 years. When we bought the house, the existing driveway was there. Unbeknownst to us, it didn't meet the variance code at the time, and we've been fat, dumb, and happy for the last 39 years enjoying this nice big driveway where we can park 6 cars, and we have company over and keep people off the street. When we, after 39 years, it's pretty wavy like this, and you can't drive on it. It's almost a safety hazard. So we went to repave it, and when our contractor pulled the building permit, he said we'd need to apply for a variance because it didn't meet the code, and which I understand now is 24 feet wide, and this driveway was 31 feet. And apparently the prior owners, and I'm not sure which prior owner put the driveway in to the extended width, but apparently they did it without the proper permission. So I would like to get permission to repave the existing driveway as is. The appearance of the driveway, even though it's 24 feet wide, is very proportional to the house. Excuse me, I've got a little laryngitis here, so I'll just take a drink of water. I think we have, look at my numbers, about 120-foot frontage, so that the proportion of the driveway is in proportion with the appearance of the house. And we'd really prefer not to have to re-landscape. It's nicely landscaped with gardens on both sides, and we really like to leave it as is, if at all possible. That's it.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant? Yes, Ms. Lionel.
The driveway part doesn't concern me much at all. I'm just a little bit curious. In looking at the plot plan, it looks like part of your garage extends on into the lot of the next door neighbor.
Yes, we have a separate issue with that.
Okay, I mean, that's not our concern tonight, but I looked at it and said, well, wait a minute. Okay, that's all.
Any other questions for the applicant?
This is not really a question. I think you got the best looking lawn and garden around. Man.
Thank you.
Puts my house to shame.
It is beautiful.
And when I went to look at it, you were out there working on it. I was getting tired looking at you, working on it. Wow. But no questions.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant? Thank you very much. Is there anybody else in the audience that would like to speak in favor of this application? Okay, seeing none. Anybody with questions or concerns? Come on up, give your name and address, please.
Lawrence Knight. I own the property of 16 Cambridge Road. I live in Hudson, New Hampshire.
Okay.
My question is, what is the existing width of the existing driveway?
It's 31 feet.
So it's currently They're not changing the size of it? It's
No,
not growing 7 feet?
They're just asking to repave it as existing, what it is now.
Okay.
Okay, so the ordinance in Nashua says that they're allowed up to 24 feet. When they pulled the building permit, obviously it was caught. And I can tell you that this is kind of more the rare thing, because usually they wouldn't be pulling, nobody usually pulls a building permit when they have a driveway resurface. So in this case here, this is why we're here, and this is a good thing, right, that they're here. But because they exceed the 24 feet width of the driveway at the street, and in the back, there's a calculation on when they can turn in, or if it was to go wide, or how far back they have to be. That's why they need to be in front of us for a variance for that. So
Okay.
they're not going to extend the driveway any more than it is now. They're just going to take up what's there and just resurface, or resurface on top. I don't know what the plan is.
Before I address that question before us, I'd just like to fill in a little bit of history. It may go a little negative, be real quick, but it's actually quite positive. Couple owners before the Fortnums, the Bordelos, had put in the double-wide driveway, breezeway, and garage. They didn't get a building permit from the city. I was 11 years old at the time, living there, and he was a former builder, and he sketched it up, sent it to the city, something happened, and the house went up. He got approved, or the breezeway and garage and driveway went up. Trees were taken down from my mother's property. She passed away. It went on to me. Part of the garage is on our land, and it was a source of contention with my mother. I know she wanted it removed. I loved my mother. I disagree with her. I didn't sign the paper that she wanted that done. As long as I own the property.
Sir?
No, this needs to be
Sorry,
said because
I
they don't
understand.
talk to me.
You just need
You
to
need to speak into
address
the
the board.
microphone.
I'm sure
I'll-
he's
I'll-
here, and I know.
Not take it down. I don't.
Right.
You don't fracture a leg and
Right.
cut you off at the knee. Having said that, land was taken away on, when you face the house, from the right side of the street where we live. And then we lost land from when the builders put the street in. Somehow some mistake was made between them and the city, and 5 feet were taken on the left. So the house has been condensed on both sides of the property. The left is what it is. That's how the drawings go. But on the right, I would request that you table your decision for 30 days and let both parties talk. I'd like the opportunity to talk and solve some of this. I won't, I don't want that garage taken down. I got a phone call that the roof was going up, and hey, let them put a roof on it. That garage is never coming down. But I would like the opportunity to solve some of this, because in the 70s, my mom was a beaten mother, and tough marriage. She was a single mom. We almost lost the house. We were on state assistance. She couldn't know how to deal with builders or surveyors or lawyers. It is what it is. And today, I'd just like to solve what's there, however we can solve it. And if we can't, then we'll go forward.
So let me say this. I appreciate your concern, and I understand what you're saying. For us tonight, what he's requesting for, just so you understand what our role is. He's requesting, again, to resurface a driveway that's a little wider. The fact of the matter is the driveway is in the property line, within the property line, okay? So the driveway doesn't, right now, the driveway.
Yes, it is. Yes, correct.
It doesn't incur, correct. So the issue that you have with the garage, I think, again, is a matter that you certainly, obviously, are going to take up. But whether the garage is there or not, he could be in here looking to repave this section of driveway. And so we can't,
Well, in that
and
case, I won't object to it.
unfortunately, we can't get involved with this issue, because really, it's an issue that doesn't, we can't take this into consideration because it's not part of our consideration. I think certainly if the driveway was clearly over the property line, I think that we would be very cautious to approve something that might not be looked at, I don't want to use the word legal, but, you know, there may be questions, and maybe we would be concerned.
It's fine then. Then I have no
So
objection.
I just want you to understand that we hear you, but it's clear that the driveway is within the property line. So it's not that we're dismissing your
Okay.
testimony, it's just that it really doesn't really affect our decision because it's just a driveway we're talking about.
And I wasn't sure whether it was coming 7 more feet towards 16, which
No,
it's not.
no,
So,
no.
cool.
Okay? Any other questions you have for
No,
us?
I'm all
Okay,
set.
thank you. Any questions for this gentleman?
No, I appreciate you coming tonight, and thank you for taking the time to come here and
It's a learning
speak a
process.
candid amount. Appreciate that.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Anybody else with questions or concerns? Per our bylaws, sir, you have the opportunity, if you want to, you don't have to, you can come up and rebuttal what you've heard, or you can rest. Okay. So that would nullify the next step. Okay, so with that, without any more testimony, with questions or concerns, I'm going to close the public hearing and open the public meeting. I'll just state my opinion. I think, again, testimony is, this driveway's been here 39 years. You know, this, before they even bought it. I think that it's worked all that time. I don't think there's ever been a complaint about the property, and like Mr. Carter, like you said, I think your eye would be drawn to the beautiful landscaping and not the driveway, right? But regardless, it's within the, you know, it's not, you know, we don't have any issues here that we have to worry about. And again, I'm in favor of just the resurfacing. You know, it's not gonna get any bigger. It's been working, so I'm good with it. Mr. Curry?
I'm in support of this application also. I think one of the most important elements, you know, this is a long frontage. You know, I think it's 110, you know,
120.
120, thank you. And I agree that, you know, the driveway does not look out of proportion, given the long frontage. Also, quite frankly, I think the neighborhood's used to it. It just fits in. If this was a 24-foot driveway asking to go wider, I think there could be there's valid concern with it. But it's been there for so long, and it's proportional, as the applicant states, I agree, and therefore I'm favorable to it. And, you know, whatever way this vote comes out tonight, that has no impact on the garage. This is strictly a driveway thing, just to make that clear. So, you know, for the other fella, whatever decision comes out tonight, there's no, that doesn't state anything about the garage. This is strictly a driveway situation we're looking at, and I'm in support of it.
Mr. Lionel?
I'm in support. I don't see any reason to deny this.
Mr. Shaw?
And I'm in support for all the reasons already stated.
Okay. Anybody like to make a motion? If not, I'll make it. All right. I'd like to make a motion to approve the area variance for Douglas and Deanne Fortnam, 18 Cambridge Road. Description is Douglas A. and Deanne Fortnam, L. Fortnam, owners of 18 Cambridge Road. Sheet C, Lot 469, requesting variance from Land Use Code, Section 190-192, subsection C, to exceed a maximum driveway width 24 foot permitted, 31 feet proposed to excavate and resurface existing 31-foot wide driveway. It's in the R9 zone, Ward 9. The variance is needed to enable the applicant's proposed use of the property, given the special conditions of the property and the benefits sought by the applicant cannot be achieved by some other method reasonably feasible for the applicant to pursue other than an area variance. We discussed that the fact that, and in the testimony, that this driveway has been in existence for at least 39 years. It is 31 feet wide, but the frontage of the property is 120 feet. And discussion again was that it obviously appears proportional to the property, and that there has been really no issues with that in those at least 39 years that this applicant has been living there. We find that it is within the spirit and intent of the ordinance, It will not adversely affect the property values of surrounding parcels. We have no testimony one way or the other. It's not contrary to public interest, and substantial justice would be served. Seconded by Mr. Shaw. Any discussion? All those in favor? It's 4-0. Thank you. Your application, your motion passed. The motion passes. Again, just be aware that there's a 30-day window of appeal, but good luck. Thank you. Are we all set to keep going? I'll close the public meeting for case number 3 and open the public hearing for case number 4. It's for owner Mark P. Grenier, 12 Ritter Street. Description is Mark P. Grenier, owner, 12 Ritter Street, sheet 94, lot 94. Requesting the following variances for Land Use Code, section 190-16, table 16-3. 1, to encroach 16 feet into the 20-foot required rear yard setback to construct an attached 11 by 20-foot home addition onto a non-conforming structure already encroaching 5 feet into the 20-foot required rear yard setback, and 2, to encroach up to 2 feet into the 10-foot required front yard setback for a 3-foot by 14-foot addition. This is in the RB Zone, Ward 6. Welcome. Your name and address, please.
Good evening, gentlemen. Mark P. Grenier, licensed home inspector, professional inspector for 29 years, and I recently purchased this home about 30 days ago. This is what we call the dog on the street. I've been approached by 5 neighbors after I took possession, all literally physically coming to me with smiles saying, did you buy the place, or are you going to fix it up? This house is Kermit the Frog green with a blue tarp nailed on the roof. That's how bad it is. And before I purchased it, I drove around the neighborhood and I noticed that, this is what I've done before in my little spare time of what I have. I have quite a few home inspections, but buying a dog on the street is a good investment, and I think it's good for the cities to take these type of houses and make them nice. Anyway, it's a very small lot, if you look at the print, and it's it's not very wide. I think it's only 56 feet wide frontage. The driveway is literally 11 feet from the house to the abutter's fence. The backyard is only 16 feet from the house to the fence, and it's 5 foot 6 inches to the other fence. So this is a very small lot, but it's also a very tiny house. There's only 800 square feet of livable space. The second floor has a staircase that's 16 inches wide, and you have to turn this way. If you're 6 foot, 200 pounds, you're not going to be able to go up there. The basement steps are literally 14 inches wide, and you have to turn backwards at the base of the stairs to get into the basement. It was a shabbily built house. We call these chicken coops. Really, really poorly built, partial post and beam. It looks like, if you're in the basement and look up, it looks like it was built with an axe and a buck saw, and definitely no tape measures and no levels. But it's structurally safe, but it's just very, very tired. It needs a roof, it needs siding, it needs windows. My plan is to put about $45,000 into the property of my own money. I want to make it look really pretty. If you're facing the house from Ritter Street, it's a double gable house. One gable's a little bit smaller purposely, and there's a little connector. There's a single-story connector, so it's like kind of like almost like an H, flat in the back. My idea is the kitchen is it's really disgusting. It's really tiny. The bathroom is in the kitchen. The chimney is in the middle of the kitchen. The door swings open to where the dinner table is. There's only one place to put an eating table, and that's right where the bathroom door is. There is no bathtub. There's a stand-up shower. It's very narrow. The floor's tilted and sagging due to decay. I really would like to get the bathroom out of the main living area. I'd like to forfeit the bulkhead and just make that the way to the basement. There are older homes where, as you probably know, the only way to the basement is to go outside and go onto that's just the way it is. You just can't do basement stairs in this tiny little house. So second floor above the kitchen is so tiny, I believe appraisers don't count space where you can't walk. So if you walk from side to side, your head literally hits. So the gable is tiny, so there's only like 5 feet of space I think the house is 17 feet deep. So that's literally a useless bedroom, plus the narrow staircase. So I'd like to put another bedroom on the back. I apologize, I didn't realize there's a 20-foot setback in Nashua. I thought it was 10. So I thought I'd only be encroaching not quite that many feet. But anyway, my idea is to put like an 11-foot addition out towards the back fence, and 20 feet wide. 2/3 of that, or 3/4 of that addition would be an extra bedroom, okay, and the bathroom. This would be outside, attached to the house with a shed-style roof. The fence, by the way, in the back is 8 feet tall, plus it's on top of a 12-inch concrete footing or something. So there's literally 9 feet of height. So you can't see the neighbor's yard. That's a 3-family. There's a big yellow 3-family. The people on the second and third floor can see in my yard. There's a nice Asian couple living next door. They can see partially in my yard. The neighbor on the right, as you're facing the backyard, cannot see inside the yard. They've got big, big trees. I don't think this woman was well-liked because that's an 8-foot stockade fence. So it's nothing but fence, can't see much. I was approached by a neighbor who owns a 3-family. He's a very nice guy, and his concern was, I think he thought I'm requesting a 2-story addition, because he said, I want to know what's going on with windows, because, you know, my apartment building is right there. And I said, no, sir, it's just going to be a sloped shed-style roof with a 20-foot wide addition and going out 11 feet. And I'd like to state that if the city's not in agreement with the addition, because it is encroaching quite a bit of the backyard, if I could at least do a bathroom addition in the back, that would be wonderful, to get that damn bathroom out of the kitchen and knock that chimney down and just open it into a normal living area. And that's my request. As far as the addition out front, I had to do a separate variance. As you're looking at the two gables, the middle connector is like a living room, and it's set back 5 foot 6 inches. I'd like to come out 3 feet to make the living room bigger, and it's still a couple feet. It's still 2 foot 6 indented. In other words, it's still set back between the two gables. So I am encroaching. I am in violation, or I'm encroaching towards the sidewalk, but the existing gables are already there. So I will still have a double gable with a setback connector. I'm just requesting 3 more feet, so when you go in the house and you look at the living room, it's not so tiny. And then hopefully in the back, a doorway to go into that room.
Sir, can you just speak into the mic?
Yeah.
Just so we can hear you.
Yeah, just to go into that room and a bathroom. The bathroom would be laundry. Again, the laundry, to go down those stairs to do laundry, it's just ridiculous. So I'd like to get a bathroom with maybe an overhead, what do you call it, a dryer, washer dryer. So laundry and bathroom on the backyard, that would be great, attached to the house. So I'm requesting the addition out back with a bathroom and the addition out front. And I would really like at least the bathroom if I can't get the additional room. So, and by the way, the left gable is a decent-sized bedroom and on the first floor, and a pretty decent-sized bedroom on the second floor above that, because that gable, for some reason, is larger than this one. So the second floor is useless above the kitchen. I'd like to open it up and vault it, because it's just literally a useless room. It's just too tiny up there. So I'd like to vault it and make the kitchen look lovely, and again, get that bathroom and bedroom out in the back.
Okay.
That's it.
Any questions? No?
Oh, by the way, the windows, the question was questioned by the owner who came to see me. There'd basically be one window, and it would be looking out to the PVC fence. So there really would be no view. It would be for lighting purposes. No, I would have no windows on the north side, because that's the cold side. It would be a bedroom anyway, so just windows facing the PVC fence, and no windows on the right, because that hopefully would be the bathroom. So,
Okay. Yes, Mr. Shaw.
I guess if we are to consider maybe your kind of, call it the optional or secondary request, if we are to consider just adding the bathroom for that back addition, would you have it still encroaching as much, or would you be able to flip it or
no,
reduce the encroachment?
I think I'd flip it, and I'd go parallel with the house. You know, I'd like to go like 7 feet wide. I'd probably only go 7 feet out, and I'd go to the left maybe like 10. Enough to get a full bathtub, you know, a bathtub, a sink, a toilet, and laundry. And again, I would actually do the up and down washer dryer, whatever you call those things.
The stackable. I think is what you're
Stackable, yeah,
saying,
stackable washer dryer.
Yeah, I guess I'm just trying to, if we entertain this, just trying to make sure, because we'll have to specify an amount of encroachment that we would approve.
Well,
So-
honestly, it's only 5 feet to the fence if the addition does go in. It's like a hallway now, but.
Yeah, no, I get that. I mean, if the bathroom is, if we're considering that, I'm trying to figure out what the amount of encroachment would be and how wide. So I think you're showing a 7-foot wide bathroom and 11-foot out. So if it rotated, you would only need to go out 7 feet.
Right, so
I
there'd
think
be
is what you're
about,
saying.
only, there'd be 9 feet to the fence instead of 5.
All right, just want to make sure I kind of was following that correctly with you. Thank
Okay.
you.
Can you give me an idea of, just roughly, that shed dormer in the back, if it was built the way you are proposing? What's the height, from the ground to the soffit or whatever, the
Okay,
roof
well,
line?
let's see, it would be coming off, again, it's a double gable house front, so go in the backyard, you're looking at the 2 gables. That connector roof is just a simple slope, it's a 6/12 pitch.
Right where the rain would drop off?
Yeah.
What's the height from the ground to the edge of the roof?
Probably 9 feet.
So, not really any higher than that fence?
Oh, no, the soffit and the fascia would be probably lower than the fence, or maybe 8 feet.
Okay.
And then the roof would come off with 2x10s off the existing gable.
Right, so probably up another, what, 2.5 feet?
Right.
Okay.
I prefer gable additions with vaulted ceilings, but you just can't do it.
Right,
It just
yeah.
can't be done.
I understand. Okay, thank you. Any other questions for the applicant? No, thank you very much. Anybody else in the audience that would like to speak in support of the application? Seeing none, anybody with questions or concerns? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and open the public meeting. Yes, Mr. Currier.
I'm in support of the application. When I first got the application, I thought, wow, this is a tight lot. You know, that rear yard setback seems like a lot. But this is a very unique house as described by the applicant. You have to see it to believe it. And, you know, the fact that it's fenced around like it is, the proposal on the back, which was concerning to me because of the rear yard setback, I don't think it's gonna pose any issue to an abutter whatsoever, because they're not gonna see it. And in summary, I agree with the testimony that the house it's been there for a long time, but it's rather absurdly configured. And I think that the request to have that additional space would make a much more reasonable house. And on the front, it's not any additional incursion to the street. And other houses on that side of the street seem to be about the same to the street, the same setback. So, you know, there is a lot being asked for here, but it's a very uniquely shaped house that's filling in with some reasonable space, in my opinion. And I also have faith that if these requests were approved, that if I were to drive down the street a year from now, it would be a much improved house from what it is. And so I'm in support, but, you know, always willing to listen to 3 other opinions here.
I'll jump in. I'm also in support with the application. You know, obviously, the home, as you stated, is, you know, was there predates zoning, so it's already in the setbacks. I think that I support the addition as he's proposing it, especially really understanding, you know, I was just trying to get the height, and now, I mean, it's gonna be blinded by that fence, so I don't even see how that would, you know, incur any neighbors or anything, and, you know, the only concern by the neighbor he's taking care of. So I think, as a whole, I agree with you that this can only end up being a better piece of property for the neighborhood. And again, I don't think that anything that's gonna be done is going to be detrimental to anybody around that home. So, even though it's gonna be tight, I think that's just the nature of this property. And as you drive around the neighborhood, some other properties, even though they have space on the other side, you see some homes are right on the property line. So, again, I'd be in full support as the application as it stands. Mr. Lino?
The applicant is very ambitious, and I applaud him. When I went by this property, I was astonished at, how small the lot was, and the house and its configuration in there. And many of the other houses in the neighborhood were also kind of crammed into tiny little lots. The house as it currently stands is probably unusable, and which I guess is why it's been a dog and sitting there for a long time. So I think that the applicant's proposal, as requested, is its best chance for a resurrection, shall I say, and I am in support of the plan.
Thank you. Mr. Shaw?
Yeah, I am too. I mean, I was equally concerned when I first saw the application, because it's just, it seemed kind of overwhelming, but it's when you kind of recognize what's going on here. And it is actually, when you look, even if you just look at the, here, as well, from the so many of the adjacent properties surrounding neighborhood, many of those have very close proximity to the street, very minimal to almost no setbacks from side yards and rear yards. I think if we were talking, even if there was some kind of like second-story addition there in the back, I think it'd be a total different story. I agree. It will pretty much be hidden. I think the front, we haven't really been talking about, but the front addition, the fact that it's still less than what those gable ends are, I think it's a way of giving a little more living space and still, but won't create any further kind of imposition to the kind of the feel at the street. So I think overall, this is one of those maybe kind of great cases in the sense of it is a very unique kind of property situation, and exactly why we have to kind of weigh in on something like this. So.
Yeah. Any other discussion? Maybe I'd like to make a motion.
I'll make a motion, sure.
I have, to make a motion and record the motion is a bit challenging.
Yes,
So
yeah,
I'm usually quiet
yes,
in
that's
my
fine.
role
That's
here
fine.
as a clerk.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion on behalf of Mark Grenier, owner of 12 Ritter Street, sheet 94, lot 94, requesting the following variances from Land Use Code, section 19016, table 16-3, 1, to encroach 16 feet into the 20-foot required rear yard setback to construct an attached 11-foot by 20-foot home addition onto a non-conforming structure already encroaching 5 feet into the 20-foot required rear yard setback, and 2, to encroach up to 2 feet into the 10-foot required front yard setback for a 3-foot by 14-foot addition. This is in the RB zone, Ward 6. The variance is needed to enable the applicant's proposed use of the property, given the extremely special conditions of the property, the tiny lot, the orientation, and the construction of the house on the lot, and the benefit sought by the applicant cannot be reasonably achieved by some other method for the applicant to pursue, other than an area variance. We believe that it is within the spirit and intent of the ordinance. We believe it will improve property values of surrounding parcels. We have some indirect testimony of that. Also, it should not be contrary to the public interest. It improves a house that has been abandoned for a while. Substantial justice would be served to the owner and to the neighborhood. So I make a motion to approve the area variance.
Seconded by Mr. Courier. He beat you on the draw.
I do want to, yeah, but I also want to ask if you could add in at least, or at least by discussion, but I'd like to note either something about, kind of regarding the plans presented, and especially that we're talking about a single-story addition for both of these front and back items.
Okay. A special condition is that the construction shall match the submitted plans, that it is a one-story addition with a slope shed roof. I think that should be
Yeah,
sufficient.
the addition in the rear.
And for the rear and for the front, it's a single-story.
Yes. Okay, yes. In the rear, single addition, single story, and in the front, the addition is also single story.
Mr. Cardy, you second that still?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, I second the
Okay.
amendments to the motion, and I have them captured here.
Okay, all in favor of that motion? It's 4-0. Congratulations, sir, your motion passes. Again, just a warning, 30-day window of appeal. Thank you for coming. Okay, with that, I'll close the public meeting for case number 4, and I'd like to take like a 2-minute break.
Sounds good.
Okay? We'll take a 2-minute break, couple of minutes, we'll be back. New driveway within 50-foot required distance to the intersection of Doris Street and Christopher Avenue. 26 feet proposed. It's in the R9 zone, Ward 6. Welcome. Give us your name and address, please.
Good evening, gentlemen. My name's Stephen Valley. I'm the Vice President of Sequel Development and Management. With me is my clients and the homeowners, Scott and Jillian Law. We first applied for a permit to add a two-car garage, and then it was determined that the original driveway is non-conforming because of being too close to Christopher Street. Christopher Street is a sort of a cross-through between Raven and Doris Street, and it's hardly used. There's only there's one house, I believe, with frontage on it. There's a number of homes in the neighborhood that have two-car garages or two-car driveways, either or. So what we're proposing is just to add a two-car garage to the house, which meets all the current setback requirements. However, the driveway doesn't. We would add no larger than a 24-foot driveway. That would bring the current driveway is roughly about 34 feet from the setback line. And that would reduce it to about 26 to the edge of the new driveway. So that's the only variance we're requesting.
Okay. Any questions? Yeah, Mr. Correa.
But just, if you could clarify, like on your application, it says, like in Part 4G, two-car wide pavement, maximum 24 feet wide.
Yep.
And then on our application as advertised is 26 feet wide. And then on the sketch here, this says 26 feet. I thought I saw 20.
That's not the wide, that's distance to the intersection.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
but
the
it does-
distance is
But it does
26.
not match what the diagram here says.
Well, it's because the diagram's going to the street,
On
not
my
the actual
initial-
property line.
My initial sketch, I was taking it from
Technically,
the
you go to the
edge
property
of
line.
the road.
Yeah.
And that explains the variance.
You have to, right, you have to go to the right of way.
Yeah, you don't go to the edge
The actual,
of
so
pavement.
this is where a lot of times the physical road versus the actual property line are very different. So there's 6 feet there clearly that's basically additional kind of not used right of way for street, but you really only would be, they would only be meeting the 26 feet, even though it would appear like 32 feet
Yeah, okay.
in practice.
Understand.
So it's a 24-foot driveway?
24-foot driveway, which meets the ordinance, and it would be 26 feet from the
Okay,
intersection.
got it.
The other
Thank
thing
you.
that might be a little confusing is the garage itself is 26 feet wide,
Yeah.
as shown on the plan in the back there, but,
Got it.
you know, so the driveway is shown as a 24-foot
All
wide.
right, thanks for straightening me out.
So, so basically, even before the existing driveway still wasn't actually was already within the 50-foot, so.
Exactly, it was
It was
non-conforming
encroaching
before.
some already, this would be a little bit more.
Yeah, the house was built in the 60s sometime, and that's the original driveway.
Right, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Anybody else in the audience that'd like to speak in favor of the application? Nope, okay. With that, anybody with questions or concerns with the application? Okay, with that, I'll close the public hearing and open the public meeting. First of all, I live in the neighborhood, so I'm quite familiar with that. I live on the other side of Lund Road, Fox Meadow, just so you know. But, so I'm familiar, I've walked there, and I know that Christopher, nothing happens on Christopher, nothing at all, except for the lost person in that neighborhood, that's about it, right? That doesn't know its way out. And again, as testified, there's only one other driveway, I believe, on there, and I just can't see how, there might as well not be a street there, and then we wouldn't really be having this issue here. But again, there's an intersection there. I don't see any justice in denying the application, let's put it that way. I don't see any benefit to denying the application, so I'm in favor of the application. Mr. Shaw.
Yeah, I think this is one of those cases where many roads, many even just neighborhood intersections, there's a lot more going on, and this kind of rule makes sense. But in this situation, on such a low traffic, low volume type of neighborhood, I don't see how this is going to be any kind of detriment to public safety.
Mr. Lino.
I have nothing more to add. I'm in support of this.
Mr. Correa.
I was just curious, and you've answered my question, the subject matter expert on this neighborhood. I thought maybe there was BG parking traffic or something, but you're obviously not from your
No,
testimony
we
in there.
took care of this, we took care of that. A long time ago. That's what I did when I moved in there. It was horrible.
So I agree with, what's been said. It's doesn't make sense to it. I think it's worthy of relief from the 50 feet at an intersection like this, and I think I'm fine with the application as proposed.
The fact is that Raven and Dora go nowhere, it's just dead ends, right? So there is no reason why there would be any more traffic on that road than for the people that live there. So, anybody like to make a motion? Mr. Shaw.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion on behalf of Scott and Jillian Law at 7 Dora Street, the owners. The Sequel Management is the applicant. The property is at, again, 7 Dora Street, sheet 111, lot 184, and the variance is from Land Use Code 1, Section 190-209C, to remove an existing 10-foot wide driveway and construct a new driveway within 50 feet of the required distance to the intersection of Dora Street and Christopher Avenue, where 26 feet is proposed. It's in the R9 zone, Ward 6. The variance is needed to enable the applicant's proposed use of the property, given the special conditions of the property. I think the primary special condition of the property is the streets and the question of the intersection that this restriction is meant to apply to. It's a very low-trafficked neighborhood and very few residents on these adjacent streets. And the safety benefit of limiting the driveway to 50 feet is not reasonable. In fact, even the existing encroachment has been there actually for quite some time. But with a narrower driveway now with this garage addition and having a reasonable driveway that would be consistent with a two-car garage, this encroachment would be furthered. So there's no other reasonable means for the applicant to avoid this area variance. So it is within the spirit and intent of the ordinance. There's no indication of any negative effects on surrounding parcel property values. It will not be contrary to public interest, and substantial justice will be served, and I move to approve this area variance.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Lionel. Any further discussion? All those in favor of this application? 4-0. Congratulations, your motion carries. Again, just a warning, the third day window of appeal, maybe unlikely here, but again, just a warning. Good luck, thank you. With that, I'll close case number 5. The public meeting for case number 5, and open the public hearing for case number 6. The owner is Jason and Tanya Redmond, 51 Robin Hood Road. Description as stated. Jason W. and Tanya L. Redmond, owners, 51 Robin Hood Road, Sheet B, Lot 1218, requesting the following. 1, a special exception from Land Use Code, Section 190-15, Table 15-1. Number 3, to allow an attached accessory in-law dwelling unit. And 2, a variance from Land Use Code, Section 190-32, to allow a new second curb cut on Robin Hood Road. And 3, to exceed maximum total driveway width, 20 feet existing, 24 feet allowed, an additional 18 feet proposed. It's in the R9 zone, Ward 9. Welcome, and can we have your name and address, please?
Thank you. My name is Jason Redmond, 51 Robin Hood Road. We're just here to pretty much hopefully ask the question to see if we can get approval for a assisted dwelling unit for my in-laws, since they're going to be retiring soon, and they'll be on a fixed income. It'll be hard for them to survive where they are. And if we do get that, we need additional parking for their 2 vehicles. So that's why we're asking for the other curb cut for the parking for them.
Is that, all right, so we see your application here.
Yep.
Is there anything else you'd like to tell us, or would you like to ask us some questions?
I'd probably better for you guys to ask questions.
Okay, is there any questions? Mr. Gordon?
It's a little hard for me to envision the proposed addition. I know you
Yep.
have this picture here. I guess what we're instructed to do when we sign up for this board for accessory dwelling units is to, I would say, ensure that the single-family home is preserved. that
Yes.
It doesn't look like an add-on.
Yep.
And interestingly enough, we had another accessory, well, I wouldn't say it was, we've had another accessory dwelling unit, you're probably following along, and there was a lot of specificity that I think gave me and the rest of the board a high degree of comfort that the single-family look is preserved, et cetera. But it's hard for me to envision how it'll look without actually some fairly, detailed construction
Drawings.
plans.
Yeah, see, that's what, we didn't know that, it's hard for them to get all those plans. It was more, if we were getting the okay to get it, then we were gonna go to the next step of plans and all that other stuff, just cost-wise for them, So that was the reason why we didn't have the,
Because I guess another thought I have, it's just me, is on the additional driveway. That there have been some other requests, and there's been a lot of debate on it, a lot of debate with me in my head, in the sense that the second driveway oftentimes no longer looks like a single-family home. It pretty much looks like a two-family home. There's been some exceptions. I know there was a couple of applications that surprisingly, like a big property, a lot of vegetation, you didn't see one side of the house from the other,
Yep.
But in looking at your house, and I have to compliment you, I think you had 4 signs up.
she told me to, that's what
on
she
the
said to
lawn.
do.
That's 3 more than I've ever seen. I had no problem finding your home. I saw from way
Kate
down
told
the
me to put
street.
4 signs up, I put 4 signs up.
Who needs
so.
ways when you put 4 signs on
Well,
your
he needed
lawn?
one for the variance and one for the special exception.
Oh, okay.
So he needed at least 2.
One side per
Okay,
front,
so you only,
Yeah,
you
so, yeah.
exceeded it by
One a
a
lot.
factor of 2, not 4. I'm sorry. Still a lot of signs. But I guess maybe it's more an opinion, is the double driveway to me is a bit challenging, but it's just where I'm at, and that's not really maybe so much a question, it's just a thought, but you were seeking feedback, and
Yep.
that's some feedback that I have.
Our neighbor has, our immediate neighbor to our right has 2 driveways as well.
Oh, okay, I didn't notice that.
Yep, yep. But they'd be on 2 streets. That's, our existing driveways, I don't even know, Nottingham? Yeah, Nottingham and Nightingale, and the new one would be on Robin Hood.
Yeah.
So,
But that's just a couple of thoughts
Yep.
I have, and for what it's worth.
Any questions, Ms. Lyon?
I would prefer to see some sort of sketch as to what this is going to look like. I mean, as Mr. Courier said, we typically, when we get an ADU request, there are plans to indicate what it looks like, and sometimes that matters to us, whether or not we grant the request. The curb cut and driveway is a separate issue, but I would have liked to see a bit more detail here.
okay.
Mr. Shaw?
I guess the other thing I'm a little bit confused by, and I want to try to clarify, so you do have this one image.
Yeah, that's a
which I-
neighbor 2 streets over from our house.
Okay.
So,
So that, but I guess what I do want to try to clarify is, on the addition that would be for the accessory dwelling unit, will there be an entrance, or?
a side entrance, no front entrance,
There'll be a
just a
side
picture
entrance,
window to match the picture window on the existing house would be a picture window like that on the accessory dwelling
So the
unit.
driveway would come up to a facade?
Could come
and
up
then,
just 20 feet from there,
the entrance
landscape,
would-
walkway on the side entrance. Fence stays existing. And the entrance for them will be on the side.
Yeah. So I guess, and maybe what I think both my colleagues were trying to get at is, I mean, there's everything from, very rough sketches, well,
Yep.
no sketches to rough sketches to somewhat detailed to, the architectural plans.
Yeah.
So I think a bit of what they're trying to
Yep.
get at is even just something that's sketched out that gives a little bit better sense of what the facades look like and how things will appear, with each other, because a lot of times it's hard for us to just look at kind of the top view. I guess I'm not even sure, for example, if you're planning on, no, you do say it there, that's right, yeah, 2-story, so.
Yep,
That
2
2-story would
stories.
essentially match.
Yep.
So but it's still, for us, it's like a lot of times, is that gonna carry the same?
Same identical
Same
pitch as the
identical?
house, yep.
Is it gonna be offset some? Those are the things that help
Yep.
us get a sense of how the visual is going to be.
Okay.
So, but I will tell you, I mean, one thing I am concerned about is the second curb cut, the second driveway, because part of our, I'm sure this was part of
Yep,
what you came to
exactly, yeah.
understand, but that is one thing that was specifically highlighted that is not intended for these accessory dwelling units. So it starts to bring it, again, as Mr. Courier said, to something that starts to have more of a feel of a two-family. I mean, you have some advantage that you're talking about a corner lot
Yep.
versus just like the left side and right
Yeah.
side of a single frontage, but, so I guess I'll just note that I have some concern about kind of how that fits together.
Okay.
Have you had any thoughts about what other options you had for parking?
No, because we can't go on the existing side because we're 24 feet. We can't fit enough cars there, so then you're approaching towards the corner, and then we have to be set back 20 feet. But to go on the same side as where the driveway is now, is that the question? To make that
Yeah, see, I
driveway
don't,
bigger?
and we're not allowed to, we don't go on people's property, so I have no
Yep.
idea what's behind that fence on that.
It's just it's just a fenced-in yard, yeah.
So, and again, and we're not suggesting one thing or the other, it's just about whether or not there were other considerations that you had given to parking, to, and again, maybe achieve that extra spot, but not, in other parts of your property. And I know you have an existing fence, and no one really wants to talk about moving a fence or anything, but I was just asking whether or not there was any other options that you had thought about at this point, or not really given any thought about it really at this
We
point.
thought of that originally, but since you have to be back 20 feet before you can expand, our zone is 20 feet before you can go wider in that area. But then it's just like you're on the other side of the garage, too.
You're talking about expanding the
The
existing driveway
existing
to the
driveway.
right or to the left? If you,
Left, I think the right, we go too close towards the intersection.
right, and then,
So left would be it'd be more towards the backyard, but I don't know if we could do that to make that, we could make that driveway part bigger. Would be,
so again, I'm not suggesting one thing or another,
Yep.
but again, it's just kind of,
to have
what-
only one, that would be a other way to go.
So, again, that would be, again, you're allowed 24 feet, there would be obviously a variance. I
Yep.
think that, and I'm gonna suggest something, that maybe we table this, and I think, and it's really for your benefit, right?
Yes,
You-
absolutely.
You can choose for us to continue on, or table to a certain date, maybe come back with, maybe a little bit more definition for us.
Okay.
And I think what we're asking for is a little bit more definition on, again, maybe a more definitive sketch, and I understand it costs money to hire an architect, but maybe a more definitive sketch or top view, or kind of what we're looking at, and maybe really think about maybe what other options you may have for a driveway, or what you could do from a minimum point of view, and that, again, will weigh on, everybody has a different opinion, there could be a different mix of people here, but I think that we're gonna ask you, if you so choose, to maybe come back with more info, so that
Absolutely.
it helps us make a better decision on what we think we would like, in our discussions in a public meeting, on how we would look at this case individually and collectively.
Sounds good.
Is that something that you'd be amenable to?
Yep, absolutely.
Just hold on one
We're
second.
gonna look at the calendar and see. So it can't be on July 10th. July 26th?
24th.
I'm sorry, July 24th. Thank you, Mr. Shaw. That's
So the earliest date's July 24th, or we can push it out a little further. It's up to you.
August would be the 14th.
August 14th,
They're all Tuesdays.
those Tuesdays.
Second and
Always
fourth
meet second
Tuesdays
and
of
fourth
each month.
Tuesdays is-
Okay. Yeah, let's do August, just to get.
August 14th, the
Yeah,
first meeting in August?
Yep, let's do that.
So, we'll be in touch. I'll get in touch with you guys, and we'll, if you want to come in, maybe we
Yeah.
can have a quick little meeting and kind of go over things.
Perfect.
August 14th?
Yep,
Okay, so you good?
yes.
Okay, so you're all set. We're gonna make a motion, and we're gonna, so,
Mr. Boucher?
August 14th.
okay. Yes, oh, Mr. Curry, I'm sorry.
If you don't mind, I'd like to give them the application for 112 Concord Street. This is public information.
Okay.
And this just gives you an idea of that case earlier tonight. You can see
Example.
what they did,
Yeah,
an
no, that
example,
would be
look through
great.
that. Because what we also see is, like, with accessory dwelling units, in general, they're encouraged.
Yeah.
The city zoning is like, yeah, have your parents, it's a better way to be than have them, and zoning goes in that direction, but then, and there's also a lot of, oftentimes, there's a lot of, how do we fit this in with the existing? It's not just your structure, it happens a lot, and again, just, we had one tonight, and this was a bit unique because it was a bit old.
Yeah.
But I think the four of us, and they thought it was a good merge to the house, so I'll just
No, that
hand
would
this
be
down to you,
perfect.
and you can just take it home and look at it.
Mr. Curry, why don't you give them 12 Echo also, because that had nice.
And I'll say this into the mic, 12 Echo Street, which was the first case tonight.
Yep.
This is like a full architectural plan,
Okay.
which the board doesn't require, but this was very helpful for us, and I think for the applicant, because it straightened out questions that they and we and the
Yep.
abutter had.
All right, perfect.
Mr. Falk?
I can also show you some other examples.
Okay.
And from other properties that have had in-law apartments and things, so
Awesome.
we can go over a lot of details. I'll be in touch with you
All right.
next couple days, and we'll go over it.
Okay.
Thank you, gentlemen.
So just want to help you out.
I appreciate it. No,
Okay.
absolutely. Thank you.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to table case number 6 for Jason and Tanya Redmond of 51 Robin Hood Road to a date certain of August 14th. Second by Mr. Lionel, all in favor? 4-0. Okay, so your case has been tabled, and we'll see you in August.
So,
Okay, any questions, get a hold of Mr. Falk. Yeah.
the package for that meeting will be sent out in the mail on August 7th. So there's still plenty of time for you guys to have something drawn, so just know that everything is, there's schedules that we have, so a week before, we have to have it in our office to send out to them. You can give them back, and we'll discuss that later.
Okay, have a good night.
Good night.
I just want to point out, I'm their neighbor across the street at 31 Glen, and we're in favor of them.
So come on back if you'd like, when, in
I'm not
August.
gonna be able to.
Okay.
Oh, what, you can just email me or
Just
something.
send an email.
You can just email, that's fine.
Okay,
Still
with that,
carries good weight.
with that, I'll close case number 6. That concludes our agenda tonight. We have some meeting minutes, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so, the meeting minutes from May 22nd. Is there any discussion or comments or corrections on that meeting? So, Mr. Currier?
Yeah, I think there's maybe a copy and paste error. If we turn to page 24, about just a paragraph or two down, it says, motion by Mr. Shaw to deny variance number 1 is advertised. If we go to the bottom of page 22, it says, motion by Mr. Shaw to deny only variance, let me get this, this was the, if we look through this case, So we have on page 22, the motion by Mr. Shaw to approve variances 3 and 4, and that carries 4-0. And then Mr. Shaw denied variance 2, seconded by me, and then that went 2-2. And then Mr. Boucher says to approve variance 2, and that fails 2-2. And then there's a motion by Mr. Shaw to deny variance number 1. I'm just wondering, is that your recollection of how that happened? Because I thought that
We did, and I definitely remember the whole splitting things up and taking the two different.
Five, like 5 motions?
Yeah, because we kept.
I know we went back to one of them.
Well, the 2 of them were, was it 3 and 4 were approved?
3 and 4 were approved.
And then 1 and 2
We separated.
were separate.
okay. Then,
And they're both they're both 2-2.
Yeah.
They both motions failed. So there's 4 2-2 motions.
Yeah, and because item 1 was just about an EMC, and and item 2 was about it as a graphics. And I remember wanting to actually treat those separately because of my opinion about the graphics, and so that's why I did had made the motion on
Okay.
only item 2 initially to deny.
Yeah, there were,
And then we went to item 1, which just was general EMC.
okay, so it's, I think it's,
Yeah,
I think it's
it is.
right.
it looks like a lot. I know.
It
looks
was, and it was a lot.
like 5 motions.
So I think it's good as stated then. So thank you for that clarification.
Actually, we did receive a rehearing request for that came on the last day, the last hour. So that'll be, I believe, at the next meeting.
So I don't have any adjustments then to the May 22nd meeting.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of May 22nd, 2018, seconded by Mr. Shaw. All in favor?
I wasn't here, so I'm not voting.
3-0. Mr. Lionel's abstaining. Okay. Regional impact, I took a look at the list. I don't see any. Does anybody else see any regional impact?
Do not.
I see none.
All right. Mr. Currier?
I see none.
Okay, so regional impact, no one sees any regional impact. Okay. Any other discussion?
The regional impact
No.
is a no, and that's unanimous.
Yeah, right, 4-0,
Okay.
right.
Yep.
Mr. Shaw?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, motion is to adjourn so we're adjourned, seconded, sorry, by Mr. Lionel. We're adjourned, all in favor? 4-0, we're adjourned at 8:33. Thank you.
I won't be here.